Excellent. Well, welcome QC Toy Show. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining us, our special guest, Austin St. John.
It's that guy.
Yeah. Austin is an actor, author, martial artist, and first responder. Best known for his role in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as the Red Ranger. Please help me welcome Austin St. John.
Thank you very much. I've never been big on intros. I'm like, can we just get started? But it's kind of important for other people, so I'm like, all right, we gotta do it. Now let's get to the important part, the talking.
Yes, so let's go and get started. Tell us your origin story. How did you get started in acting?
Well, first, God created, no, I'm sorry. It was a $20 bet. So I wasn't an actor, I was a high school kid with attitude. I was literally in high school, and I was working, I was teaching martial arts, and I ended up meeting an acting coach, and he was quite a cool character. He was a skinny little white dude with this, chrome dome that I thought was very chromey at the time. And I was like, he must be 100 years old, which he seemed to me at the time. At 17, everybody's 100 years old. And I remember just chatting with him, and he was like, you should be an actor. I was like, no. He was one of my first martial arts students. And he nagged me for a long time to come to this acting school. I didn't want to go. I was like, I hate cameras. I'm not into people staring at me. It's not my thing. Don't want to do it. And he goes, well, I have a huge acting class, and if you came in, you probably could get some martial arts students. I went, oh, well, that sounds reasonable. So I was like, all right. So he talked me in. I came in, and funny enough, one of the first things they taught me, you guys will find this hilarious, first thing they taught me in the world of commercial acting, guess what color you should never wear? Red. Never wear red as a white guy is what they told me. And they're like, because it makes your cheeks red, it makes your complexion red, it just makes you red. I was like, I don't own any red, so can I wear white? And they're like, white's okay, but that can just flush you out. You have a tan, so that, and I mean, they just started getting it, and I was just glazing. I was like, bzzz. I'm never gonna remember any of this, and this is exactly why I don't wanna do this. I'm gonna wear my t-shirt, because all I wore was like white tees and blue jeans and black tees and cargo pants. That was my life. So I took like 2 of these classes, and I got some martial arts students out of it, and that was great. And finally, he starts nagging me. He's like, hey, I heard about an audition where they're looking for high school kids with attitude. And I was like, what are you trying to say? What do you mean? And he's like, exactly. And he nags me for 3 weeks to go for this audition. It's called a cattle call, which means they put it in the newspaper, and anybody who can read it is allowed to come. Whether it's you, your little dog Toto, everybody can come and everybody can audition. No experience, no agent, nothing required, just show up. And I thought, well, I'm not going. I don't want to go. I don't want to act. 3 weeks he nags me, and finally he bets me $20 that I wouldn't be wasting my time if I went to the audition. Needless to say, I lost $20, and the rest is world history. So that's kind of how it started. It's one of those very rare stories where you hear about the first audition being on a global show. It was nuts. I'm still not sure how it happened.
You did several seasons in the Power Rangers. You also wrote a book on martial arts. Can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to do that?
Well, I mean, after being on the show, everybody wanted to know what it was I knew. What do you know? What do you teach? How do you train? And I had quite a few connections in the world of martial arts, and I ended up partnering with Master Steve Rowe out of London. And we got together, and I came over, and we got a company together to handle the shooting and the writing. So it was a video and a book combination deal. And I went over and I shot at Master Rowe's studio, shot the video there. We, doctored it up and changed a few things. Master Rowe was a master of Wado-ryu, and I was Japanese oriented. I had some Korean oriented martial arts at the time too. So I just shifted gears and taught the Japanese side of what I knew, which was great with him. And we took our terminology and put together the books and wrote the Japanese background for what was kind of our combined style at the time, which was based in Wado-ryu and Shotokan. So it was a lot of fun, and it was interesting, and the video was great. I got to do kind of a Mad Max sort of martial arts video where I was beating up bad guys, jumping off of barges in the river, and You know, it was great. I was like 19 years old, and I was doing backflips off of barges and kicking butt in the London River. I was like, who gets to do this? This is epic. Let's have fun. So I had a lot of fun doing that. It was a good time.
Excellent, excellent. You're a man of many talents, and you've had a lot of different paths in your life. You took a break from acting for a little while, and you became a first responder in different ways. Can you talk a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, so after the show, I was homeless for a while, and I ended up bouncing at nightclubs at night and teaching martial arts. I set up a kickboxing program at Foothills Karate Studio in Arizona under Master Allen. I set up his kickboxing program, and in return he was teaching me jiu-jitsu, Muchacho style jiu-jitsu, and that went great. And then at the night I was bouncing at some real dive bars. It was kind of reminds me of Roadhouse. I mean, not quite that dramatic, but there were some rough nights, really rough nights. And so, you know, I did that, and then I started in college, because I dropped out of high school, which my father was not excited about, to take the job. I had to walk out of high school to go film 24 hours. Felt like 24 hours a day, but it was, you know, 12 to 16-hour days, 5 days a week. And so when I was done with that, I was like, you know, let me check that GED box. Let me figure out college. So I started my undergrad in San Antonio and started bartending. And then I went back to Virginia and bartended some more. And I was going through the last part of my undergrad, and one of the guys from the fire department came in and goes, you know, man, you're an alpha male. Why aren't you with the fire department? I was like, am I? I mean, yeah, I am. Of course, you know. And he was like, come check out the fire department. You'll have a blast. So I was like, oh, all right. And actually, he was with EMS. I just say fire department because people don't generally separate fire and EMS. So anyway, he told me, come in, you should be an EMT. I was like, all right, well, let me go and check it out. So I went in and started the volunteer process, had a blast with it, learned a ton, got to work with some incredible guys and girls, and I fell in love with it. And then I discovered I could get paid to do it, and I didn't have to do another 4 years for free, which I was happy to do, but it was kind of hard to go to college with no money. So now I was going to school, volunteering, bartending, and going to school, and just fell in love with it and continued on with my education. And after 9/11, you know, lots of people were real motivated to get involved in going overseas, and I started putting in contracts and putting in paperwork to contract. And it took me a while, but I finally got my contract in, and I punched out, spent 4 years overseas. I specialized in tactical medicine and combat medicine and regular paramedicine, depending on the bases and where I was. And I was attached to Marine Corps and Army Ops, Naval Ops, Air Force Ops. We even had a base over there, Camp Patriot, inside of Kuwaiti Naval Base, where we even had puddle jumpers, or the coasties, as they're referred to. And that was, you know, it was 4 years I was in the Middle East over there, supporting military operations and other DoD personnel. And it was quite a process. I wouldn't change it. I love it. I'm proud of what we did. Proud of what our soldiers and Marines and airmen and all those men and women over there accomplished too. So yeah, it was kind of part of the path. And I came back and did more college, started 3 companies, still starting more companies, and always building, always expanding, always learning, and making a lot of mistakes along the way, but that's part of the process, you know. It's not how hard you fall, it's how high you bounce when you get up, you know. So I think there's a lot to becoming better than you are, and I think as long as your goal today is to be better tomorrow than you are today, you're on a pretty solid path. So just FYI.
I appreciate that. So you also you're back in front of the camera now too. Yeah. So what brought you back into the acting?
I just started meeting people. I still don't have an agent in the world of theatrical film and TV. I refuse to use them. I haven't met one that's worth the tinker's damn for a start. But yeah, when you meet somebody who wants 10%, let me ask you this: you guys work hard for your money? Yeah? Show of hands. Yeah. So if I came to you and said, I didn't do anything to help you get the job that you got. I don't do anything to help you stay on the job that you've got. In fact, I have nothing to do with the job that you got. But you gotta pay me 10%. of every job that you work on the chance that I can go out and maybe get you another job. Sound like a deal? Not so much, right? We're used to paying people for work they actually do, things that they accomplish. So that was kind of my take in the world of having an agent. So I had a Carmen moment. I was like, screw you guys, not doing that. So I ended up just reaching out to people I knew who, after 30 years, had climbed the ladder, and they were, films and TV projects. So I did Monsters at Large. I've done Fireball Run season 11 on Amazon. I did Walk with Grace, which was it's a good film that's on Amazon. I play an angry coach, high school coach with PTSD, and done some other projects. And I just got offered a couple of roles next year. We'll see if they come up. Do you guys like horror films? I have a love-hate relationship with them. I'm like, I love the idea of being scared out of my mind, but I get really pissed when it actually scares me out of my mind. Like, damn it, it should have never happened. I'm not scared. And so it's kind of one of those moments. So I've been offered a role. The first one, I think they're talking about shooting in spring, and it will be with some actors I cannot name yet, but you will know of them immediately. Outside of Power Rangers, immediately. One of them just came off of probably one of the biggest television series in recent history. And I've been offered a role that is about as far from the Red Ranger as it could possibly get, so do not bring your children. So stay tuned for that. If you're on my social media, if and when this happens, you'll see me posting photos, and you will see it go up. It'll be a smaller film, and it's going to go into the film circuit, film festivals, and we'll see who wants to pick it up. So just be prepared. It's going to twist your minds. And then the one that follows that up, actually I was offered the other one first, and then they fell back on this one. There's another one that's equally as twisted, where they're like, hey, you're interested in doing this one. You want to play this bad guy too? I was like, bad guys have all the fun, in films. Like they have all the fun. They get all the girls, they get all the drama, and then they get their proper horrible death. Except for one bad guy who never gets dead yet. So just stay tuned. There's going to be some cool stuff coming. Might not be for you, Blue Ranger, until you get older, but your mom and dad might creep themselves out later in the evening watching it. We'll see.
Well, as a horror fan, I'm excited. I will shiver in anticipation for that. I'll take a break from the questions I've got and give the audience an opportunity. We have some questions out there.
What was your favorite thing about being in the Power Rangers?
I think it's probably today. There were things I enjoyed about it back then, but I think what I enjoy the most today is seeing many of you as you've grown up, because now you have the ability to look me in the eye and articulate and tell me what it was like when you grew up. What were your experiences like? What did it mean to you? Because each and every one of you has a different story. No matter where I go in the world, in 40 countries and 90 languages, 65 markets Power Rangers was sold in. And that means ethnicities, races, religions. I mean, everywhere that I go, I hear different stories. Some of them similar, but the principle is often the same in that whether they identified or whether you identified or he or she or whoever identified best with my character or another character or Kimberly's character or Trini's character or whoever it was, that was the principle behind it. So I think with you guys now being in a place where you can tell me what it meant to you, did it help you get through hard times? Was it the only safe place you could go because you had a terrible home life? Or was it the neighborhood frenzy and you all kicked each other's butts in the yard? Or did you go to school and get into trouble in the principal's office? Or was it something special you bonded with a family figure over? or with. I think my favorite part of Power Rangers today is hearing those stories and knowing that still 30 years later, something I did 30 years ago is still being watched, not just by some of you guys, but now some of you guys with your children. So 30 years later, we are still creating family bonds. And I think for me that, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I have 3 children. That's a special thing for me. I know how important those bonds are to me. So if I can help, or my castmates can help formulate those bonds with other families, how can I put a price on that? It's just something I'm incredibly happy to be a part of. And I love that you guys are still sharing these stories today. Though it was kind of fun watching you as kids. Watching you hide behind mom's leg like, is that the guy? No, come on out, you can talk to him. No, turn around, no, come on, over here. No, I'm so sorry, he's never like this. Come on, over here, no. Just say hello, don't you have questions? No. He had so much to say in the car on the way up here, but now he's just not talking to us. I see that all the time, and it's one of my favorite moments. So it's, there's just always new and exciting experiences. I love being a part of it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Other cool questions?
I feel like I could be one of those kids that you just brought up because this is my childhood. I said this to Walter when I met him in Peoria at Comic-Con last year. You guys were my childhood. I grew up watching y'all get the Mighty Morphin era all the way to In Space, to everything that you guys done. So first off, and I'll say this when I come get your autograph shortly, it is an honor to even be in your presence, sir. But my question is, we all know you left the show in season 2 of Mighty Morphin, but then you shocked us all, came back and was Gold Ranger and Zeo, and then all of a sudden you were back there in Forever Red and Wild Force, and even shocked us even more when you came back to Beast Morphers. We all thought you were gone after season 2, but what drew you back to become the Gold Ranger, to reprise the Red Ranger role in both Beast Morphers and also in Forever Red?
Well, I mean, partially for every one of those episodes, in part, it was curiosity. Wondering how much it had changed, what the new casts were like, where they were shooting, was it the same, who was there, who did I still know that was there? You know, like in Beast Morphers, when I came back 4 or 5 years ago now, was the first time I'd ever filmed in New Zealand. And there were 2 people there from 30 years ago. And I told them no originally. And then the executive producer of the show, the top dog, called me up personally. He's like, hey, Austin, it's Chip. I'm like, Chip who? He's like, Chip Lynn. I'm like, Chip Lynn? Chip Power Rangers, Chip Lynn? You want to talk about success stories? Here is a guy who, he was a PA, he started as a PA. That's essentially a coffee getter on a film set. Your job is to do everything nobody else wants to do. That's what a PA does. And you learn the ropes from there, whether you want to direct or be a DP or whether you want to do whatever you want to do, and you work your way up. So 30 years ago, he was the coffee getter. And now he's the executive producer of the show. So that dropped my jaw when he called me and said, look, I know you said no, but I'd really like for you to reconsider, take a look at the script, and maybe come out. And I was like, you're telling me you're running the show, Chip? He goes, yeah. And I said, who else is there that I would know? And then he told me one other name, and I was like, that really was it for me. I was like, oh, okay, I have to go see these faces again and have these memories and create some new ones. So I got out there, and the director of photography for second unit, same guy, still out there smoking his cigarettes. I came walking on a set, and he's sitting way up in the boom, and he's 20 feet, 25 feet off the deck, and I hadn't even noticed him yet. And I'm sitting there, and I'm doing my blocking and all that, and finally I hear this, hey Austin, how you doing? Oh my God, how are you? And so I think curiosity, and then I think something else that I don't always think to respond with or to talk about is, in some ways I kind of feel like the Godfather. As the OG leader, I kind of feel like sometimes I need to come back. And I always want it to be special. I always want the episode to be written well. So I'm picky about that because, I mean, I don't know if you can call wanting to put out high quality stuff being picky. I think that's just the way it should be. But I can remember, no matter what season I've gone back to be a part of, I've always noticed that some things have never changed. You know, how the actors are being paid and what's going on with them, you know, and I just, same troubles, just a different decade later. So, you know, nothing changes in those respects. Although I guess the guys that work for Disney had it better for a couple of years. They'll tell you that. Jason Font tells me that all. In fact, he just told me a couple of weeks ago. He told Walter and I in a text after we just put out this other video talking about why we left the show. You guys, have you heard of Fanward? So Fanward, F-A-N-W-A-R-D, is a private streaming network that Walter and myself and some other actors and singers are on, and we put out a lot of video content. We just released another video talking in detail. The first time he and I have ever talked about it together, and it's kind of rocking the internet right now. We're cracking up over 1 million views, and we're definitely pissing some people off and making other people smile. Like I made one comment, it was like, you know, Seinfeld was making 13 million an episode, and I just misspoke. He was making 13 million a year. Doing 13 episodes, he made 1 million per episode. So I was just emotional at the time when I said it and didn't speak clearly, and that's my fault. So some of the Seinfeld fans are like, oh, that's not the way it was. And then I said the big one, and I was like, we were more popular than Seinfeld. And then people really lost their minds. What? Oh my God! And the bottom line is, while Seinfeld was probably one of the biggest shows in the 90s, Power Rangers was sold in 65 markets around the world, dubbed into 90 different languages. I love Seinfeld. I love Seinfeld. I watch Seinfeld and Friends. And they're still not in markets like that. So, but I didn't explain that at the time. And then I made my second suicidal commitment where people are like, oh, Austin and Walter were lying. And I was like, and then the second film tanked. And some of the Ranger fans, or the first film tanked. And they were like, oh, and the film made a profit. What I meant is that the first 60 episodes, in those first 60 episodes, the series made $1 billion. So if you look at the per episode profit margin, it was over 7,000% profit margin. And then you go to the first film, and its profit margin was like a couple 100%. So relatively speaking, money-making wise, the series is what made the money. And even though we didn't. So that was what I was referring to, but again, I didn't explain it. So now I've got some people out there that are blasting me online for telling them its truth, and I just didn't speak clearly. So I think it's kind of funny. So if you get the urge, you should check out Fanward. And we've got a lot of other videos on there. Walter and I did the morphing sequences, trying to do the morphing sequences for Rangers that came after us. Man, it's a comical moment. You should watch that video. Watch two guys 30 years later trying to, it was like, what is happening right here? It was a good time. So if you get the urge, check that out.
Excellent. Fanward, right? Other questions?
How do you feel about Saban and Hasbro and company not continuing with Power Rangers?
I'm not convinced it's over. That show, I don't know how many billions. Last I heard years ago, it had made over $7 billion. That's redonkulous in any currency. So I wonder if maybe they're not just letting it die to see what sort of response they get to bring it back. I'm hoping that's the direction they're going to go. I don't know. They certainly haven't called me up lately. But I would be curious to see. I would not be surprised if a year or two from now they come back with some new announcement just to spark up the Rangerverse again and get it going crazy. But I can tell you, whether they do or they don't, I have something that I'm creating. It's called Redemption Comics. And it's about what happens to Jason 30 years after Power Rangers at the end of the world. So picture Lord of the Rings meets Mad Max, and it's dark. This is for the fans that grew up. This is not for the little guys just yet. You get a little bigger, maybe. We'll let mom and dad figure it out. And I've sold, I put out book 1 and book 2, and book 1 and book 2 sold out several times now. And book 3 I'm gonna launch early next year. And my goal is I'm going to, after book 4, I'm gonna put book 4 through 12. And I'm gonna put 1 through 12 all into one graphic novel, one thick book. And then I'm gonna take it to the networks and I'm gonna turn it into an animated series. And it is demons, druids, and cannibals, and scavengers, and elves. And in today's world, like you say the word druid, or elf, and we're all immediately like, oh, that's super cool fantasy stuff. They do lots of cool stuff. Yeah, that's a cool idea. That's the whole premise, is that when this world ends, in book 1, you see the world fail. We don't really know why. We just know there's an evil, and I didn't do zombies. I love zombies. I mean, it's always brains. Like that's always going to be amazing. But I couldn't do viruses. I did a whole new evil, and for this whole new evil in this world, what we're going to discover is that things like druids and elves and witches and all these other characters that we always thought were fantasy haven't been fantasy. They've just been dormant in human form for so long. It's turned into fantasy, but when this new evil comes back, we find out it's not new at all. It's been here before. And now when it comes back, every day, men and women and boys and girls find out they have these ancient bloodlines that begin to rise. So you wake up one day and could find out you're a druid, or you wake up one day and find out you're part elf, with maybe some other cool stuff in there. And or maybe she's Wiccan and you're elf, or who knows. But there's going to be all sorts of new people who are going to find new abilities. And I'm going to create entirely new characters through which Jason, who becomes Reaper in this story, is going to have some wild stuff going on. Reincarnation is going to be a big part of this story. So we're going to be jumping in timelines. And it's going to be intense. My goal is to do 12 books and then take it to the networks and turn it into the animated series. And I know some of the biggest voices in the industry, and I'm going to see if I can't get them on board, and I think it's going to be a good time. So stay tuned. If you're looking for something that is as closely related to Power Rangers as it can be without being Power Rangers, go to austinstjohn.biz, and you can check out book 1 and book 2. They're $10, plus whatever your shipping is. And just give them a read. You might enjoy them.
Excellent, excellent. I'm excited for that. I'm a comic book fan. We have another question over here.
What was your favorite series? Like and can you just kind of elaborate on like the OG or like in space? Like.
I've only seen 3 episodes of my own series.
Well, I meant like acting in like.
Oh.
Like what was your favorite?
I mean, the Gold Ranger suit was probably the best looking suit, as far as I'm concerned, in the series. I love the Egyptian, ancient Egyptian glyphs and stuff like black and gold. How can you screw up black and gold? It looked amazing. I loved that suit. Royal pain in the butt to fight in, but I love the way it looked, right? But I have to come back to the original 5 Rangers. Even with Tommy, the 6th Ranger, any of those 6 suits are the most iconic suits in the world. It doesn't matter where in the world you go, you show anybody any one of those suits and people immediately are like, they know what that is. So I feel I have to always come back to the OG Red, because if the first 5 of us had screwed it up, there wouldn't have been any other Rangers. At least not with that cast. Maybe 10 years later, he would have hired a whole new cast and tried something. But in the era that you guys fell in love with it wouldn't have happened. So I love the Red, and I'll always be partial to that, and the Tyrannosaurus. I mean, who doesn't love a Tyrannosaurus? That's just cool. I always tease Walter. I'm like, man, I don't know how we were homies. He's like, why? I'm like, because what Tyrannosaurus wouldn't eat the Mastodon? I'm like, come on, that's a snack right there. And he always just laughs. He's like, yeah, but I'm the Shield. I was like, yeah, you are the Shield. You're the Shield of the Megazord. But it's just kind of funny to me that they put a mammal with a meat-eating Tyrannosaurus. It's like, how's that supposed to work out? But So I love the original series, but Zeo was a lot of fun to film. And when I came back for Forever Red, that was a ton of fun. Getting to work with 9 other Red Rangers who brought their own magic to their suits and their seasons and had their Zords and, you know, their ability to kick butt in their own way. Like there's something amazing I could pick about any of them. Coming back for Beast Morphers was fun too. So working with Rory was great, and the other cast, I wouldn't throw any of it away. I think they're all epic, and watching what a lot of these younger guys are doing now, and how they make it their own. I mean, it's hard after 700 episodes to try and do something original. Like you got to get your creative on. I would never want to be the first guy in the sense that you literally have to create it in the minds of everybody because they have no premise. It doesn't exist. But I wouldn't want to be guy number 700 either, because now what hasn't been done? You know what I mean? So I have the utmost respect for the guys there in the beginning and those who are still knocking it out today, because they all had to work hard.
While you're all thinking about some more questions, so you've got, you said the Fanword series, you've got your comics. What are some other projects you've got that we should keep an eye out for?
I've always got projects. I'm a busy guy. I've got a jewelry line that so because I dropped out of high school, we talked about that, right? I never got a high school ring and I always wanted one. So fast forward 30 years, I made one, but I made it Jason's high school ring. And it's up on my website at stjohn.austinstjohn.biz. And it's the red and gold hybrid, and you can change out your stone, and you can put in a pink stone or red stone, stuff like that, whatever you want. I don't know if you guys had high school rings. I never did, and even if I had tried to get one my senior year and I dropped out my junior year, my family didn't have the money, so I wasn't going to get one anyway. So if that's something that means anything to you guys, there's something like that that's there. I have a leather bag company that I just partnered up with about a year ago, and we're going to be doing some premium leather bags that we have hand stitched in Mexico. And these guys their work is just, it's on another plane. I mean, these are kind of lifetime bags. This isn't the leather bag you're going to buy. It gets cut up and torn up and you're like, oh, I'm done. This is, you know, a generational bag. You buy this thing and you're going to give it to your kids. You know, you put some good leather lotion on it, you keep it in great shape. So, and I got interested in that because I travel all the time. So I needed different sized bags for different things. And I was like, you know what? I met the right guy, right time, and we decided to create the Austin St. John line of leather bags. We were hoping to have it out actually this Christmas season. So if you stay tuned, maybe first quarter next year, you'll see it on my social media. I'll put it out there. Or you could reach out to John at Misty Mountain Gaming and ask him about the St. John line of bags, and he can put you in touch and let you know what the latest is. I actually need to text him. But so I have a leather bag line coming up. I have the comics coming. I'll be building the animated series. I have the comics, anime, jewelry, clothing lines. I have 2 clothing lines. So I have some Ranger-oriented clothes on the St. John site, and then I have another one called Wise Leader Wear. You just go to wiseleaderwear.com, which is stuff. I'm a history guy. I love reading on all the good guys and the bad guys in history, because whether they were good or bad, they all teach us something. Either what we don't want to be, or who we would like to be like, or you pick and choose things from each of them, whatever works for you. And so I have a t-shirt line that has quotes from Roosevelt to Rosa Parks to Lincoln to Einstein, and you can go on. I think maybe I only have 15 or 20 different historical wow type figures on there right now. But maybe early next year I'll go in and I'll add quite a few more, because there's so many who have, you know, wild statements that mean to each of us different things. But if you want to take a look at it, you can check out Wise Leader Wear, and I've got t-shirts and hoodies, and you can check out some cool stuff. Socrates is on there, Plato, some of the great thinkers of our earliest times are on there. And there's some biblical quotes for those of you who don't struggle with your religion, whatever that is or may not be. You might want to check that out. So stuff like Wise Leader Wear. I got in trouble. They were like, oh, I made a comment about Hitler, And so now there are people out there who are accusing me of being a Hitler lover. And I'm like, you guys are such morons. My grandfather bombed Hitler out of Nazi-occupied France. He literally bombed the Germans out of France. Shut up. So but that's okay. Because you know what? They don't realize that all they're giving me is free advertising. It's great. So you keep running your mouths. I appreciate you. Thumbs up. So you can check that stuff out. And I'm sure there's a couple other things I just can't think of off the top of my head. But I may have this new film series with some pretty wicked stuff coming out for those of you who are interested in that. You may enjoy it. We'll see. Let me know what you think when the time comes.
Excellent, excellent.
How come you never got a special morpher like Tommy's Master Morpher?
Because Jason is the Master Morpher. Why do I need an extra tool if it's on the inside? Know what I mean? Some guys need tools. Some guys are the tool. Good thing my wife didn't hear me say that. She could elaborate a few on those. Speaking of tool, might get in trouble on that one. You'll understand that when you get older. You don't always need a tool to get the right job done, right? Sometimes you have to make do with what you have, right? Does that come from a tool other than your mind? This is the greatest tool you have, buddy. So no matter what it is you want to do in the world, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. You understand what that means? So you keep this tool educated and sharp, you're going to need far less tools in your hands. Keep that in mind, big guy.
Well, Austin St. John, Renaissance man, thank you for coming and spending time with us, sharing your stories. And you'll be back at your table all weekend,
Yeah.
right? So go to his table, meet him, and thank you again for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.